Now, I think it's really interesting because a lot of people these days, they recognize the importance of doing a video. I really feel that we're entering the age of creation. We're entering the age of creative social media. If you just look at our daily consumption and use of social media, a lot of us consume a lot of these kind of things. And I think a lot of people are realizing that it's very important to be a creative, but it is easier said than done. It's much easier to consume. When you actually do it, you're like, oh my God, they don't like the way they appear on video. They don't like their voice. They don't like the way, how stiff they look. And you're giving them a great tip. You know, you're talking about deconditioning. So it's like, how do I do it? Is it easy? Sounds really difficult. What does that mean?
It's a lot of also breaking down past trauma, because a lot of your fears come from things that maybe people have told you before. Why do I get scared being in front of the camera? Is it because in the past somebody told me I look ugly or I look fat? Or so you have to kind of look at that and then bring it into the present and ask yourself, is that true? And if it's not true, you kind of have to do exposure therapy, right? So the more you do it, the more you get the feedback from society, like social proof. But the only way to do that is to actually put yourself out there and do it and get the feedback and then realize that, oh, it's not true.
What is up, guys? I'm Mel right here together with Elsa. Today we have a new series, X Factor podcast series. I'm going to be interviewing a lot of creators, creative people. I really feel that we're entering the age of creation. We're entering the age of creative social media. We're entering the age of creators. We're entering the age of content. And, you know, I think if you just look at our daily consumption and use of social media, a lot of us consume a lot of these kind of things. It's the basis by which we make our buying decisions. It's the basis by which we follow people, decide to be part of a tribe, etc. And I think a lot of people are realizing that it's very important to be a creative creator, create content, etc. But it is easier said than done. It's much easier to consume than it is to actually sit down and shoot and produce. When you actually do it, you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. I don't feel myself. What exactly do I shoot about? I'm not really a creative person. So in this entire series, what I want to do is I want to give you the mindset, skill sets, thinking processes of really creative people, creators, and how exactly they think, how they begin, etc. So that you can watch this and actually dive in and begin to create. So Elsa is right here, and she does so many things. And, you know, I feel that if I were to describe what she does, I would definitely leave something out. So what exactly are the multitude of amazing things that you have done, Elsa?
Okay, so I started out doing theater. Then I did some TV, moved into commercials, so commercial modeling. And then I did hosting, voiceovers.
Wow.
And during COVID was when I decided to switch to music and social media. So now my focus, I think after having tried a multitude of things, I've decided to just kind of hone in on the two things that I really care about, which is my music and social media, because can't just be a musician at this age, you know, in this generation where we're all like so tech centric. You can't just be an artist. You also have to be an influencer. You also have to know how to use social media. And so I feel like those two categories of the things that I do are really aligned with one another. So that's what I'm building.
You have done just about everything: theater, music,
everything in the entertainment
hosting. Yes. Wow. So see, I found the right person to come and ask. That's why I didn't want to do a bio, because I was like 100% sure I'll miss something out, because I kind of saw, I think it was on your social media. There was a picture of you, I think, on like a shopping center.
And a billboard, yes.
Yes, I think
it's a commercial modeling thing.
Exactly. You know, so I was quite sure I'll miss something out. Okay, cool. You've done all the different things. Then let's dive right in, right? So a lot of people think creative people, creativity, being a creator, nature versus nurture. So would you say, hey, you know what? I grew up just knowing how to do all these in the first place. Or would you say you put in a lot of time, energy, effort? Or would you say it's a combination of both?
I always feel like you have to have an innate talent, because that makes everything a lot smoother and easier and faster. But I think for me, I definitely put in a lot of time and effort, because I never actually got to do what I wanted to do until I was 18. So until I went to LaSalle, I never had the chance to actually probably learn those skills or go for those classes or anything like that. So I think I attribute a huge part of that to talent, to be able to pass the auditions. But then once I passed the auditions, obviously I feel like I'm 18 years behind everybody else. So I had to catch up, right? And build those skills.
So what exactly did you want to do versus not being able to do? So what was that thing that you wanted to do?
So ever since I was a kid, it's going to sound a bit ridiculous, maybe a bit cliche, but I think I've always wanted to be a performer. Like ever since I watched like Barney and Friends and Disney Channel, like I just knew that's what I wanted to do, but I never got the chance to do that because I think nobody really took me seriously at the time. So I would say those things and they'd just be like, oh, you know, she's so cute, and then ignore it. And so I actually grew up doing a lot of sports. And obviously, like, you know, the whole academic route and stuff. And I was good at sports, but it wasn't my passion. And so I think after a while, I just kind of felt a bit jaded. And I didn't know that I was actually going to get a chance to perform until I got into LaSalle. And then I think that just completely changed my life.
I think that is a metaphor for a lot of folks who are watching this right now, and they spend a long time watching other people perform and create content, and they never feel like I don't think that I can do it. Maybe they don't take themselves seriously. Maybe other people don't take themselves seriously. At what point of time did you realize that I can go from watching to actually performing? Because it's kind of different, right? Being a audience member and a spectator to actually perform.
Very different. And I think I can even talk about envy and jealousy, because I feel like when I grew up knowing that I wanted to be a performer, when I was sitting, I watched a lot of theater shows, right, as a kid. So when I was sitting at the Esplanade watching those shows, I would get so jealous and so envious, and I almost didn't even want to watch it because I'm like, I should be there. And then I think at some point I used that as fuel of if I really want to be there so badly, why don't I actually just try? And at that point, I guess at literally 17, right, before going to uni, I was like, this is my last shot. If I don't get into a performing arts university, I'm going to spend another 4 years doing academics again. So let's just try it out, because nothing to lose, right? You have nothing. If you have nothing already, you have nothing to lose. And so I think that was a huge motivation for me.
The first time round you went there's always that feeling, especially in the creative space, that you watch other people do it before, and then you always feel one of two things when you actually start. Number one, am I an imposter? Number two, am I too late also, right? Because it's like, oh my God, watch this person. I feel I'm so late. Maybe I've been on YouTube ever since 2000, fill in the blank with whatever. And I just started. Am I too late? Am I good enough? Do I belong here? What were your thought processes to overcome this?
It was a lot of imposter syndrome. I think that was definitely 100% true. A lot of anxiety. I think my thought process to overcome it was, number one, literally if you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. So I always feel like when you're pushed to a corner, or when you literally don't have a choice, your only choice is to make it work, right? And so that was my thought process of prove people wrong. That was a huge motivator of mine. I think that was my motto for 3 years, which is prove them wrong. And then my teacher always told me, he said, if you want people to look at you in a way where they respect you, be better than them. Because if you're better than them, they can say whatever they want. So they can say you're too old, they can say you're too late, they can say whatever, but they can't say that you're not good. And so I think for me, I just had to shut off all the other noise and focus on being good and being as good as I can be. I think that was a huge mindset shift. I think the tenacity that you need to have.
How do you actually get good at this? How do you get good at coming up with your creative voice? How do you get good at performing? How do you get good at being in front of camera and being natural? How exactly do you get good at this?
How do you get good at it? The easiest way, maybe it's the hardest way, but the easiest way I would say is just be yourself. That's literally the easiest way to do it. But so many people have so much conditioning, so much of, wondering how people think about them, how they're being perceived. They put on a front. And I think all of those things is what in drama school, they literally teach you to break down. So my teacher always said, you can't be an actor, you can't be a performer unless you're a blank canvas. So all you're doing in drama school is you're breaking down all of those past conditionings. You are literally removing all of that societal identity or whatever identity that's been placed upon you. And you're just going back to the soul and the essence of who you are. And the minute you go back to that, and you're so comfortable in that, and that becomes your natural state, then wherever you are, whether you're on stage or you're in front of the camera or you're performing, whatever, you'll just be yourself. And I think because I've been doing that for so many years, the deconditioning and the removing of identity, now I can be here, right, on Zoom and just completely be myself.
Was it easy? because for the average person, I think it's really interesting because a lot of people these days, they recognize the importance of doing video, but they don't like the way they appear on video. They don't like their voice. They don't like the way and how stiff they look, and they are kind of watching at other people, and they are so free flow in front of video, and they're like, hey man, why can't I be that? And you're giving them a great tip. You're talking about deconditioning, so it's how do I do it? Is it easy? Sounds really difficult. What does that mean?
From what I remember, at least at the start of it, it's a lot of also breaking down past trauma, because a lot of your fears come from things that maybe people have told you before, stuff that you eventually believed to be true. So you kind of have to break that down. Where's this fear coming from? Is this fear real? Is it justified? Is whatever that happened to me in the past a same representation of what's happening right now? Why do I get scared being in front of the camera? Is it because in the past somebody told me I look ugly or I look fat or whatever it is, right? So you have to kind of look at that and then bring it into the present and ask yourself, is that true? And if it's not true, you kind of have to do exposure therapy, right? Like, oh, I think everybody's going to hate me. So you do it. Do you get hate comments? If you don't, oh, wait, I can do a video and not get hate comments, right? So the more you do it, the more you get the feedback from society, like social proof. The more you get feedback of like, actually what I'm doing isn't as scary as I thought it was. But the only way to do that is to actually put yourself out there and do it and get the feedback and then realize that, oh, it's not true.
I think at the same time, people are kind of concerned that if they be themselves, then there'll be people that, you know, think this person, oh my God, look at this girl. Why she's so loud? Why she's so expressive? Why she's not behaving according to the norm, right? People say, hey, you know, this person is very act, you know, they act a lot pattern, you know, etc. Right? So how do you deal with that? I think that is the fear that makes people shoot very conformist content. Because in their minds, they have that conflict. You know, one part is like, oh, why not we go and experiment? And another part is like, oh my God, what if I stand up from everybody else and they think I'm a weirdo also? So how do you reconcile that?
I think it's just being comfortable in your own skin, because it's happened to me before. Like people go, oh, are you just putting it on? Like, are you sure you're this energetic really? Like, is this toxic positivity? You know, how is it possible that you're so happy all the time? People literally have judged me for wearing pink. So on the butterfly clips, you know, I literally got judged by somebody for wearing butterfly clips. I cried after that conversation. But I think it kind of woke me up to really making me question, like, am I being real? Is this really me? Am I being pretentious? Am I putting it on? And I think after doing all of that self-reflection, I realized that actually I am being real, right? So why do I have to care about what they think about me? Because at the end of the day, the whole world is energy and frequency, right? If I'm putting out certain energy, I'm going to attract the people who like my energy or who resonate with it. And if this person or those people don't resonate with my energy, that's fine. They're not my community. They're not necessarily going to be my audience, and they're not necessarily going to like me. You don't have to be liked by everyone. I think when you try to be liked by everyone, that's when, you know, either you're really, truly liked by no one, or they like you, but they don't really like you. They like the persona that you're putting out. And do you want to keep up with that persona for the rest of your life? And I say no, right? So for me, it's just like, okay, I'll put out this energy, and the people who really see me will see me. And the people who don't see me, never mind. Maybe they'll see me in the future when they resonate at the same level.
One of the things you mentioned just now was the word reflection. So I went to reflect. And I think that's kind of very important in the process of like discovering your own creative, unique voice, the person that you actually are. You can talk a little bit about like reflection and what journey you have been on to really just go and think about who am I, because I think a lot of us have an idea of who we are, but I think a lot of it is made out of conditioning. So you're not even sure like if that's you, because conditioning means you just take it on from society, and so it appears to be you, but you find yourself repeating the words from your teachers, from society, the government, your parents. So maybe that's not you. So I think that process of reflection, pondering is really important. So what was that like for you?
For me, it started with one of my acting teachers. So I didn't realize it at the time, but during acting class, he would make us meditate before we start. I always thought it was an acting exercise, you know, like lie down, imagine your spine is sinking to the floor. I literally thought it was an acting exercise. So I just 100% absorbed it and I just did it. And I didn't realize at the time that it was, in a way, the start of my spiritual journey, because ever since then, I started noticing a lot of synchronicities in my life. I started meditating a lot more. Whenever I was stressed out or whenever I felt lost, I actually went back to church, you know, to try and find God, because I was so lost. And I was like, I don't know who I am. It looks like I want this thing in my life, or I'm good at this, but then everybody's telling me, no, I can't do it. Or no, you're not good enough. And so I had to really go back into myself. And I think in a way also just trust in the higher powers, right? If I was being given a gift, I have to have been given a gift for a reason. People tell me I'm not good enough. There has to be a reason for that. I think kind of similar to what Oprah said, right? Sometimes if you suffer more, you also are forced to grow more and grow faster, like spiritually evolve faster, because you're put in a situation where you don't know who you are. And so you have to go figure out who you are. And that leads you down this whole, I guess, spiritual self-discovery path. And I think for me, a huge part of that was just learning to trust myself. Like now, whenever I have a question, I try not to get opinions from others. I'll get perspective maybe sometimes, but usually I'll just meditate on it. And then after half an hour or 45 minutes, I'll get an answer. And then I'll just act on it. right? Because you've got to act on the answer to see whether or not the answer is right. And if the answer is wrong, you do it again. You meditate, you get a different answer, and then you try it out again. The faster you fail, the faster you succeed. That's what I always believe.
I think that's really important, because I think the idea of like trusting yourself and being natural and like having your creative voice, I think we're all building around this idea, because I think that when people get into this space of wanting to content create, they always think about the tech and the gear. You can have the best studio, man. You can have the best like materials, but it's like who you are in front of the camera is the most important. If we have 4K, we have 24K, whatever the heck we have the best sound system, but you are not a good representation of who you are naturally, then it's going to be captured in 4K, man.
Exactly.
It's not good, man. Then the whole world's going to see that and be like, man, this person looks a bit stiff.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a few more things also. How do you deal with nervousness and fears? Because performing, I think, as a person that has done a little bit of this before, spoken in front of big crowds before, there is always the element of fear. Whether you're in front of a video, I've had people, be completely natural. You've seen this before. They're completely natural, and then all of a sudden they take out a video camera and they like forget how to speak like a human being, and it's so weird. And they're like this like a stilted version of themselves. So literally, I take out this device and they're like psychologically, they're like, oh no, I don't know how to be a human. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with like being natural in front of large crowds, knowing a lot of people are going to watch this, and like dealing with fears, nervousness, etc.?
It's so funny because I feel like it's scarier for me to perform on stage than to just do something in front of a camera. Because honestly, in front of a camera, it's just you and the camera, right? And you have it front facing, so you can see exactly what you're doing. So you can see whether you like it or not. But when you're on stage, I think that's when, you don't really have feedback from the audience, except like if they laugh or they cry or whatnot. So at the time, when I first started doing stage performances, I would get really self-conscious. So in a way, it's like while I'm reciting the lines, right, my brain is going, oh my God, am I saying the right line? Am I coming across the right way? And I think that really stunts the way that you present yourself on stage. And so over time, the first thing was, the whole thing of like, imagine everybody's naked in the audience. I tried that. Then that got okay. And then after that, it was like, don't look at anybody's faces. Like when you're acting, you just look at on top of them, the black space. So then that became easier as well. And then I think slowly over time, it just became fun. The more you do it, the less scary it is. Then the more it feels like play. And then the minute it feels like play, I feel like, oh, I actually can look at somebody in the eyes, like in the audience, and say a line to them. And then they respond in a positive way. And then, oh, maybe I can do more now. Maybe I can try something different. And so I think a lot of it also comes down to practice. But a lot of that practice also has to come from exposure therapy. I think there's no point in a way like, kind of being all up in your head and trying to figure out the theory of things. If you don't do it, you won't be able to get over that fear. And then I think because it was so easy for me to be on stage, right? Then camera is nothing because there's nobody there. Like until I actually post it out. And even when I post it out, I only see numbers on a screen, right? Of how many people viewed it, how many people watched it, how many people are commenting. I don't actually see a person looking back at me. So I think because of that, I always find camera to be a lot less scary. You get a lot more trolls though, but a lot less scary to actually create the content.
Yeah, so then let's talk a little bit about trolls, because I think, we kind of briefly mentioned it just now. And I think that's one of the fears that people have also, that the hateful comment from a person with no profile picture and like 20 followers, but seems like some really mean shit. Not quite sure it's a bot. Is it a troll? Is it a person living in the mom's basement? But then they come up here and they like, leave a 1-2 liner zinger. So how
exactly.
How do you deal with it? How exactly?
Last time I used to get very affected by it. I get really, I don't know, I either get like pissed off about it or I just suddenly doubt myself a lot. And then I always feel this need to remove the video or to fight back or to create a video in response, which I've done before. And then I regretted it because I realized like the minute you fight fire with fire, right, then this thing never ends because the more you create a response to it, the more they want to respond to you. And then it just becomes this never ending like negative cesspool of content, which is not what I want to be known for. Right? And so over time, I learned to, number one, I filter all the words. So like on TikTok, you have like this word filter. So just keep keying in every single word that you think is going to affect you negatively, just so that it automatically filters it out. And then the second thing is I try not to read my comments on TikTok as often. On Instagram, I respond to everything because I feel like Instagram is a more positive community. Because TikTok, your video goes straight to FYP, right? And so a lot of these people, they don't actually follow your story. They don't know who you are. They don't know where the video is coming from. They just see you like this girl who looks a certain way, who acts a certain way, or maybe bimbo, you know? So let me just comment something like, oh, so shallow, or oh, you probably never experienced anything difficult in your life. So I feel like you kind of have to just realize that
judgmental. These comments are really judgmental. Like, oh,
yeah, super judgmental.
It's a very instinct kind of like, you know, they see, it's not like they found out about who you are, then they're like, hey man, I conclude that she hasn't experienced anything in her life. Just like straight off, like, you know, instinct, and they just feel the need to write the first thought that comes to their mind.
Yeah. And I think Gary Vee said somewhere that you should actually, you know, feel sad for them or be empathetic to them because they look like they're suffering. Because if you're not hurt, you won't hurt other people for no reason, right? I always say, like, if you're winning in life, you only want to be happy for other people when they're winning in life. But of course, you know, the negative is also true. And I think for me, so then the blocking definitely helps. And then for me, the last thing I started to learn was like, when I was in LaSalle, right, there was this one girl who was quite a bully to me. And I remember it was because she was jealous because I got a role that she wanted to get. It was, I think, a lead role. And I told my teacher, I said, okay, there's this girl who's saying these things to me. I'm very hurt by it. What should I do? And then he looked at me and he said, Alyssa, show her love. And I was like, what the hell kind of advice is that? Show her love? Like, that's not helpful to me. But then over the next few months, I really tried. Every time she did something new to me, I look at her, okay, how can I be loving towards her? Why is she hurting? And then I realized she had a lot of insecurities, you know. She was struggling. Her family was not perfect. Relationships were also suffering. And then I got a role that she wanted, right? And so, another girl or another person trying to take something away from me. And so I think when I started to step into those shoes, suddenly I found her very funny. Then suddenly she said something, I find it very amusing because I think I reached a point of indifference, of like, it doesn't affect me anymore because I just know that it's coming from a hurtful place or a place of hurt.
Wow.
Yeah. So when she said it, I just started laughing to myself. And then I think similarly now when I see hate comments online, I also feel like it's kind of amusing. You know, obviously sometimes it's still hurtful, but then when you take a step back and then you really reread it like maybe 1 week later or 2 weeks later, I realize it's actually quite funny because you don't understand where on earth they came up with that idea.
I think this is good. I think this is good. That's another thing also that I think folks have in their minds because, you know, it is so easy, I think, to talk about like, you know, content creation, you know, set up a video, etc. But once you get in the mindset, that's one thing, right? Having to deal with all of these things. After the mindset, you need to find your voice, which we discussed already. Then after, you need to come up with content ideas. And you know, as a performer, as a person that performs, you have to come up with like ideas. Sometimes you do your own songs, or sometimes you think of ideas you want to come up with, and you're like, wow, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Where exactly do I come up with all these creative ideas? And sometimes you watch videos and other people come up with like the best creative ideas. You think, oh my God, my idea is so stupid, etc. I'm not sure if it's going to work. Where do you come up with creative like ideas and angles and feel like you have something to contribute to the space that is unique and different?
I think initially when I first started, I'm just going to use TikTok as an example. When I first started, I used to save all the trending videos, the ones that I found very amusing. So I'd save them and then I'd do them, right? And initially it was just a dub. So it's like exact same thing. I didn't change anything except my hair and makeup and clothes. But then after a while, I was like, is there a way I can personalize this? And then I think that's when I realized like, oh, I can actually do my accent content. And that was very entertaining because that was a talent and a skill that I had. And then after I did that, I realized, okay, so I can do dubs do well. Oh, I do accents do well. But now I want to be known for me. So what is the pivot that I want to make, right? What do I want to be known for? And then I think that's when I started thinking, okay, why don't I post more about my music? Like, it's not going to be trending content, but it's going to be content that I think is good quality, right? And so what I noticed was that I may not get as many views, but I get jobs from it and I get work from it.
Wow.
Right? I get paid because they find me on TikTok and then they hire me outside of TikTok. So I think that's another thing where like you shouldn't get so caught up with like the kind of content you put out. I was like, I have to do a viral kind of video. I have to do a trending kind of video. You just need to make sure your video is good quality. Like you can make viral videos, which I have done many times, but whether or not the viral video makes you happy because it's a good representation of who you are, That's a completely other question, right? So I think you have to figure out firstly what you want and what you want to be known for. Then you create content in that arena. And now my content, apart from my music, which is literally just clips of me performing, it's lifestyle related. It's about wellness. It's about mental health. And that's when the content comes from my personal life story. So I don't even have to stress out about how I'm going to make that
Let's
content
just
up.
detail. This is amazing. Let's just detail the entire journey because I think this is brilliant. So it starts out being an imitation, right? I see something, I do something. This is like first layer. After the imitation, what was the second one? Because I think it's beautiful because it finally hits like authenticity. Like I'm just gonna showcase who I am. But it starts out with like I'm just gonna copy. So it's like this is so funny because it's like bands when they start out, then they just do covers. So it's like they just like we do covers. But eventually they go. So you start with so let's track this because I think this is amazing. Imitation verse, right? I see something, I do something. What was the next layer? Was it
the next one? Was when I did one accent content and then it went viral, and I realized, oh my god, I found this viral formula.
So you have imitation and you got unique skill. Okay, cool. After unique skill, what was the next one?
After unique skill was when I questioned what do I really want to be known for, and then that was when I was like, okay, music. Right?
Okay,
let's put out all my music because now I want to be known as
talent.
Yes, talent.
Unique, quirky skill, then talent. Then after talent, after talent
is when you realize, hey, I actually want to get paid for being myself. So that's when you go to lifestyle.
And then finally, things I care about.
Yes, my daily life, products that I use, my skincare routine, my self-care routine. Suddenly at that point when people care about you just as yourself, not as a character, not as a talent, not as whatever, I feel like that is the branding that everybody wants, right? They just want to be
I think also topics that you start to resonate with also, like mental health and this kind of thing.
100%.
So it's really interesting. You start from imitation to this quirky skill to like your talent, and eventually the person, and then the person has the lifestyle topics they care about and their unique perspective also. So I think this is really interesting. This is like,
and I'll add to that.
Yeah.
So I think the reason why mental health and everything else came into the picture, right? It's because after a certain point of going viral all the time, you suddenly realize, like, what impact am I really making? Like, do I want to just be an entertaining, funny person? Because that's also a good impact, right? You make people laugh. But I felt I had a deeper story to tell, or that I had struggles that I've been through that I want to inspire people and tell them that, hey, I've gone through this, but you can get out of it because I've gone out of it. So that was when I started thinking like, okay, virality is one thing, but how do I really want to be remembered? What is the impact that I want to make? How do I want to inspire?
What? That's really interesting. Let's ask what prompted that thought. Like that is a pretty interesting thought because most of the time, virality is the thing that people want.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to start and end there. 2 million people watch my videos, and after I get some money out of it, I got some gigs. I want to hit the next viral one. But then you went from virality to like impact. So what prompted?
Yes, it was so strange. I think it reached a point where I felt like I was a slave to the algorithm. I was just creating the content because I knew it would go viral. Like it was an addiction in that sense. It wasn't because I felt this huge passion for sharing viral content. It was just like, I know I have to do this, I have to put this idea out because it's going to get me X number of views and then it's going to grow my following. And so I think after a while, it's like, oh my God, am I just a slave to the machine? You always think that you have control over what you create. But at a certain point, right, when you're getting certain results, you suddenly become a slave to the results. And I think that's when I kind of step back and went, okay, what do I really want to be known for? If I continue doing this for the next 5 years, considering that trajectory, will I be happy? If after 5 years people go, oh, that's Alyssa, she's the accent girl. Is that what I want to be known for? So I think that's the point where I really started to question it. And then that's the point I decided, okay, I'd rather, in a way, grow my thought leadership. Because at the same time, right, I feel like with thought leadership, people respect your opinion. They respect what you say. And then age is not a limit. Because people always say, like, in media and entertainment, age is a limiting factor, right? But the thing is, if you're consistently growing in wisdom, in perspective,
it helps
sharing
actually.
your stories,
it helps.
And
it helps when you're older.
So then the older you are, the more valuable you are, Whereas I think the opposite can be true when you're only focusing on surface level things.
It's kind of interesting because you went from virality to thought leadership. I think that's something that I think we want to encourage people to ponder about, because otherwise the metric for social media is just numbers, just views, and how viral it is, etc. But then I think you have gone through the spectrum where you ponder, just because you go viral, does it have a direct impact, right? You kind of mentioned just because you went viral didn't mean you get a lot of jobs. You
do get a lot of jobs. You get a lot of...
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, that's what sparked my whole influencer career.
I see. But then after a while, you want to think like, does that actually like represent who you are?
Yeah, correct. I think the question also was like, am I just doing this for the money? And I'm not saying money is bad, but it's like, you really question like, what is driving you? And then are you just going to be a slave to the money and the numbers forever?
Let's talk about, let's say, a bit of the mechanics of like recording, right? So let's say you have an idea. So you sit. So wait. So this is a multi-step thing. You sit there. You got to come up with the idea. You got to script the idea or like have it in your head. Then you got to dress up for the idea. Then you got to record the idea. Let's walk through the whole thing. Let's be real. One 30-second video, one good a minute video can take a lot of work, man. Ideation, scripting, shooting. Like you don't get it right the first time, and sometimes you need to go out there, find the right location. Walk us through the whole process. This is a creative process that not a lot of people know about. Afterward, they're like, "How so much work for a 5-minute video?" Then I was like,
Are we talking about brand campaigns, or are we talking about personal content?
Personal one, your personal, because at least the brand campaign, they do most of the work for you. But let's say your personal. Let's say you have a TikTok idea and then etc. And let's say it goes from idea, and let's say it's not just something you sit in front of a table and go and do. So like you have an idea also. So what does it look like from the moment you lie in bed and you're like, oh, that's a great idea, to like, I got to script it, I got to find people for it potentially, I got to go and like etc. So walk us through the whole process.
Okay, I think I'm lucky in the sense that I've always done it alone. So even my content creation is just me, my face. So that's one thing out of the way, right? I think okay, maybe my process is a bit different.
Walk us through your process.
Okay. So I have ideas, like let me talk about my accent content. Okay, so I have a lot of ideas. Like sometimes things happen on the street, or like, somebody says something to me in the hawker center, or I have difficulty ordering mixed rice, the very typical Thai fun thing. So then I'll just write it down in my notes app. And then one day I'll just sit down in my room. Then I'll be like, okay, I want to film 5 pieces of content. Let's look through and pick the 5 that I want. And then I just have 5 different outfits. Literally, I just go into my wardrobe. I change, go into my wardrobe. I don't even plan it. I just change. But the first thing that you have to do is you have to do your hair and makeup. So once your hair and makeup is done, the clothes is just a wardrobe change. And then when I actually sit down and film the content, the most important thing you need is your green screen. So let's say you want to do like airplane content, you need the airplane green screen. Right? You want to do a hawker center content, you need the green screen. So when I do that, I put the green screen and then I just improvise. You have an actual green screen, where you? No, green screen on TikTok. Green screen on TikTok. Okay, yeah. Green screen. Yeah. Okay, green screen on TikTok. Then I improvise. Then I edit. Then the improvise part? I never script anything. Really? I've never scripted my content. I only script branded content. Oh. Yeah. Which one easier? Is it easier to improv, or is it easier to script? Which one do you? Easier to improv. Really? It's easier to improv? Yes. Maybe because I'm good at talking, So I just Then I just cut out the part that one. I see. But it's not as easy to come up with the idea to improv. The typical person cannot improv. Yeah. so I don't know. Maybe use ChatGPT might help. Oh, ChatGPT helps. Sometimes if I want a few ideas, or like I want to put a title as, caption or whatever, then I will just use ChatGPT. Give me 11 titles or something. Now I'm going to pick the ones that I want, then mix and match. And then I'll use that as the title. But honestly, right, for majority of my content, I just improvise everything. Yeah. So then the only skill comes in the editing part. Then how many times do you NG and then until you feel like, wow, actually I did? Because in my experience of shooting, you either nail it, so there are days where you nail it the first time and you're like, oh my god, thank god. Or if you don't nail it the first time, then it's like Lord knows how many times. So I've shot like up to, so I remember there was this back on the cab video that I shot in Vietnam as I was headed to the airport. So the drive was like 30 minutes. That video was supposed to be like 35 seconds. I shot 25 times. Are you serious? I couldn't get the words right. There are some days where you just like, you don't get it right. Just like, I
I could.
Oh my goodness.
My phone is just filled up with me just repeating. Even the cab driver was like, "Hey, are you gonna get this right? I keep hearing you." He knew what was going on. I don't even think he understood English after. So like, come on, man, get it right, son. Let's go. So like,
because you scripted it.
no, I didn't script it. That's what I'm saying. I said, but there are days where I can nail.
So many times.
Exactly, that's why I say it. There's days where you can nail it the first time, and there are days where you're like, "Oh my god, it's a nightmare." So does that ever happen to you?
Rarely.
Rarely.
Yeah. Only when it's scripted content and I have to get the words exactly right. Then I'll do like maybe 3 to 5 takes. But usually when it's my own content, it's usually first take. Okay, TikTok is casual like that. Your first take is usually the best take. Even if you make a mistake, they like it. You know? So the more you retake, right, the more curated or like forced it looks. Yeah.
So let's talk about that also, because that's kind of interesting. Because you just touched on one thing, right? So authenticity in front of a video. Do people like perfection, non-perfection, little bit of imperfection? Like, what have you realized that people like?
I think people like imperfection. Usually like, yeah. Like, let's say like the videos that tend to go viral is like if you're imitating something, or even if you're imitating some content, right? Some viral piece of content. But then at the end of it, in the middle of it, you make a mistake. Those things go viral because nobody wants to see just a carbon copy of something they've already seen before. Yeah. So actually people like the imperfection. I think it makes you more real. And I think that's why for TikTok, right? You can literally just do like that. Hi, I'm here. This is the... And they like it. You don't need a camera crew following you around. I think sometimes people think too much, like, oh, I don't have a camera crew, but the lighting is not good. But no, I don't have a microphone, the sound quality is not good. Nobody cares. Yeah. If they really wanted to ask you, they'll just put it in the comments.
Let's talk about a couple more things, because I think this has been super useful in terms of like, and I think this entire sharing session is literally the deconditioning that you did back in acting school.
So important.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like, hopefully when they encounter this, they know that they should film content, but they have a lot of thoughts in their mind, everything from like, what if I get hate, what do I say, blah blah blah, and all these concerns, and hopefully address a lot of these things. And by the time they finish this and they're like, hey, you know what, maybe I can do it, maybe I can just take it out and film it. And I think they could always do it, just that before they had all these thoughts in their head, they kind of interfered with their ability to content create. So let's talk a little bit about monetization, interacting with the fan base, growing your following. How did you notice that as you put things out, your following grow? Because a lot of people have, especially when people don't hang out on social media that much, they have a misconstrued idea of like linear growth. Or people see 10 people, like, think it's like a savings plan, you're going to get 100 people a day. In my experience, it's not like this, like nothing much happens at the front and all of a sudden it explodes. And then, 100%. It's very critical also to interact with the fan base, think about monetization. So what has been your experience down this growing fan base, interacting, monetization route?
I think the growing the fan base part came pretty easily for me because of the viral content that I did. So I always say, like, really bank on the skills that you already have. If you're a funny person, do funny content, right? If you're a singer, do singing content. Do whatever you know you're good at, because that already gives you a heads up. It's like unfair advantage in a way. And then the second thing is, the more you put yourself out there, and if your content is good or if your talent is good, the money will come. In a way, your personal brand is like the vehicle that attracts the money to you. And then everything else after that is how good are you at sales and negotiation and client relation management and all of that kind of stuff, which is completely separate to the actual creation process, which is also a reason why a lot of people go sign up with agencies. I have worked with agencies before, but now I self-manage, right? So I kind of had to learn the business side of
God dang, you do everything. You come up with the idea all the way to shooting, all the way to negotiation. She's a one-woman machine. God, wow. How do you find so much time, by the way, before we continue, whatever you have to say?
Tough, I feel like to ask you that time management has always been a struggle for me. I think because at a certain point, I was quite a workaholic. So I would have to work every single day. If I'm not working, I take a break. I feel very, very, very ridiculously guilty. So now I'm trying to find a balance within the both, but it's not sitting very well in my heart. So I still don't know how to find that balance. I think time management is definitely an issue because we only have 24 hours in a day, right? Either dedicate your day to your career.
Yes, I don't even think it's time management. I think it's task management because, let's say all you do is sing, right? But let's say all you focus is singing. You can sing 10 hours, that's fine. But you're doing the whole spectrum of the business, from ideation to improv to editing to makeup to but by the time the job comes in, hi, I'm actually the customer service also. Then I'm the one calling, hey, this is my entire rate. Oh, then you got to go there for fulfill. I was like, oh my God.
You are right. How on earth did I do all of these things? Yeah, it's actually quite crazy now that I think about it. But I think a huge part of me was also, so I have had a manager before. This is separate from agencies, right? I had a freelance manager before. And I think because I did not know how to manage myself at the time, there's certain things that I didn't really agree with, but I didn't know how to voice my opinion and perspective. So I felt like a lot of things were being controlled and I didn't have a lot of control. And I like being in control. I don't just like people telling me, do this, do that, do this, do that. And then I'm just going to silently just do it. And so I think because of that, when I stopped with that manager, there was a huge drive in me to be like, Alyssa, go and learn all of these things. Make sure you know how to do it yourself before you go and find another manager. Because you don't want to be in the same situation again when people are just telling you what to do and you do not know how to tell them the opposite. So I think because of that, that was something that I kind of took upon myself to be like, I need these skills. I need to be able to do them. Now I'm at a point where I'm like, I need to delegate. So that's my next step. Literally.
What did you learn in terms of taking back creative control of kind of like your career from the monetization standpoint? So what did you learn that they were asking you to do that probably you disagreed with, and now that you are in control, you choose to say no to and say yes to? So what was that? So that people...
I think in terms of, I'll split it up in two, right? In terms of music and then in terms of content creation. So in terms of music, it was the things that I needed to wear, the songs that I needed to sing, the keys that I needed to sing in, the style in which I needed to sing, and how I presented myself in front of other people. I felt like at a certain point, if you as an artist don't have enough creative control, you don't have enough of a unique identity. Because what makes you special and unique as an artist is you being yourself. So the more you try and change yourself to fit into a certain mold, there is a shelf life to that. Because you can only play a character for so long. And look at people like Taylor Swift. The reason why she's so big is because people have followed her journey. It is her journey. It is her personal life. It is her story. And it's the evolution along the way. But if she had played a fake character of Taylor Swift from the start, there would be no journey to go on. It would just have been one story and then chapter closed, the book closes as well. So I think that's number one for the importance of creative control. The second thing is when it comes to content creation, I think a lot of times agencies are maybe a little bit more strict with the brief, but if you're talking directly to the client, you can suggest things. Oh, you want an Instagram reel, but I think with this idea, maybe a TikTok would be better. Or, you're just looking at a TikTok video, but maybe a package would be better for this because then you also get your Insta stories. Maybe I can also cross-post it on Reels. And then I notice that my Reels have more engagement. So you have that kind of a discussion with them so they understand where you're coming from. You're not just like a disposable creator. You're not replaceable in that sense. You're actually able to, I guess, in a way, give them a bit of a consultation, right? Or give your own opinion. And I can even say like, okay, I know this is the script that you want, but I think I would say it in this way. Can I script it in this way? Or can I use this particular audio? So you have more say in the matter, which then also comes across more organically on your own page.
I see. And you said, so that was one on the music and one on the content creation, and you took back creative control of both of these things, and you feel a lot happier.
I feel a lot happier, but then also like a lot more stress at the same time because there's so much admin. Oh my God. The creative part is the easy part. I feel like where I struggle with is the back end because that's not my natural.
Yeah. You didn't get into this line to fill in forms and chase for payment.
Exactly. Yeah, there's so much.
Send invoices.
Google sheet. I had to learn how to create agreement templates. Like, oh my goodness.
Send invoices.
Yes.
Kind of thing. It's not why I got into this business.
Exactly.
Let's talk about like interacting. We were on the topic just now on growing the fan base and interacting with them and how it like explodes. So what did you realize caused your like first explosion? It's not like a linear savings plan. That was the point that I was on.
Yeah. I think it always reaches a point of like critical mass. It's like you do a couple of things that maybe you just do okay, and then you get one thing that does really, really well, and then you get 5,000 followers, right? And then it'll just be okay for a while, and then you do another thing, and then you get like another 1,000 followers. So I feel like the game is not how many followers can I get as fast as possible. The game is how many pieces of content can I put out that is of a good quality that increases my chances of it going viral or of it resonating with a larger audience who will then follow me. Because there's no point doing viral. Let's say you're doing like a viral piece of content that has nothing to do with you. Like you are a singer, but you put out a piece of gardening content and the gardening content goes viral. Now all these people are looking at your profile. Why would they follow you? Because they're following you because they like the gardening content, right? But then when they go to your page, it's all singing. So then it's not going to get you followers. That's why I always say like the virality, you have to look at it separately. You have to look at what it is you want to be known for first. Then you go and iterate on that particular piece of content or that particular theme that you want to be recognized for.
I think that's really important. It was, I think I can see a potential incongruity if you do content in one particular area, especially when it's just to get views. And then when they land on your page and you're like, whoa, what the hell is this?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people give up. So I have a friend who's a videographer and he does really good videos, right? But then his video content never goes viral. The thing that goes viral is some SpongeBob meme that he put up. And so he got so pissed off because he's like, why am I putting in so much effort creating all this good high quality content? And then I just like randomly like create a SpongeBob meme and then that one gets like 100,000, 200,000 views. And then he's like, I'm going to give out on TikTok. There's no point. And then I just had to kind of tell him like, it's really not about the view count. Like random things will go viral on TikTok, you know, but that's not the focus of why you're building your brand. You're building your brand because you want to be known as a videographer. So keep creating the video content. Because even if you only have like 5,000 followers, but if the 5,000 followers are all people who want to hire videographers, that's, you know, a good quality and a good clientele right there. Yeah.
That is amazing. How often do you like engage with your people? Because we mentioned just now, we don't engage trolls, right? Video responses to trolls is just a spiral downwards or so. So how exactly? And let's also talk a little bit about increasing the following. Which videos did you like? It's kind of like a stock market. Like your portfolio is like. Then the next morning you wake up, you're like, what the hell? Like 20,000 people. So what were some of these moments that you kind of remember, right? When they had like just like overnight or in a 1 or 2 weeks, and probably a huge jump in terms of following. What did you recall before we talk about interacting with the fan base?
Everything was related to my accent content. So initially I started by doing British accent, and then I started doing like an Australian accent kind of content. And then I did American, and then I did Singlish, and then Singlish also did really well. So I think because of that, right?
What was the jump like?
The jump was huge. Initially, I did it as a parody because I remember some girl that I knew who always had this like very put on American accent. So I just created a random TikTok video being like, hi, my name is Dana and I'm from this school and I studied in America. You know, just like I literally had the parody because I didn't know how TikTok worked, right? And then overnight, everybody was like, oh my God, this is my friend from this school, that school, this school. Oh my God, this reminds me of this girl from this school, that school, that school, that school. And then they started tagging all their international school friends. And then it just like skyrocketed. And then I realized, oh my God, my accent content has an audience. So let's try a different accent now. Then
wait, so what was what was the jump like? Because it sounded like you didn't spend like big budget production to shoot this.
I shot in my room.
Yeah,
on my bed.
You didn't know that it was gonna go viral, or you were just like,
I had no idea. Because I didn't really know how TikTok worked. I seriously thought TikTok was like a dance/dubbing kind of app, right? And so I used to do a lot of dubbing, and like those things obviously didn't go viral. They were just okay. And then suddenly I just did this random piece of improv accent content, and then that went viral. Then I was like, oh my God, wait, there's actually no trend on TikTok. You know, the trend is yourself. Right?
What's the jump? So overnight, or maybe in like 3, 4, 5 days, how much do you see? Was it like stunning to you? You check, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, wow. So
every morning you wake up and it's like 500 new people, 500 new people, 500 new people, 500. And then suddenly the numbers go from like 50K, 100K, 200K. I think the biggest was like 1 or 2 million plus. Then I was like, oh my God, every single day is just going up. Even now, my accent content is still trending. And I don't even create accent content that much anymore. But like when I actually look at TikTok and I look at the trending content, like, yeah, my accent content is still trending. So I'm like, whoa. Yeah. Wow. There's longevity. I guess that's the thing. Like there's longevity on TikTok. You create entertaining content.
And And of course, then there were people that like your fan base also. And I think the most interesting thing we can probably David wind up on this topic also is that the fan base follows you at the start, right? Because it's the like, no trust kind of thing. They follow you at the start because you're just like the accent girl, or they just think you just appear on their feet and they're like, who is this? And they kind of think you're funny. But then there are people that after a while they go beyond thinking you're funny. They actually think, yeah, she can sing, it's kind of cool, and then eventually start to like you. I think you mentioned Taylor Swift there, because when Taylor first came out, there's so many female artists, you know, and I think the funny thing is singing is not even a differentiating factor. Everybody can sing. I don't think anybody in the singing industry cannot sing, you know, but I think we like Taylor because eventually, a lot of people like Taylor because it started off as blonde gal, right? Tons of blonde gals in the Western world. Tall blonde girl, okay, here goes tons of these people around. Then all of a sudden, young, tall blonde girl, but then she was singing guitar and she was singing about her life. And then eventually, it started out as, oh, she's kind of nice to look at. She's got a good singing voice, not bad. But eventually, we moved down the layers to, I like her because she's Taylor and I follow her journey and I like what she represents. So there are also people that follow you down from like, you know, accent all the way to where you are now.
Yeah.
Do you notice that there are such people? How do you interact with them? How do you engage them, etc.?
There are. And I think the good thing about that is that they always send me DMs and they're like, you know, every time I look at your content, it really brightens my day. Or I love this journey that you've been on. Please share more. You know, you're such an inspiration. How did you do it? How are you so cheerful all the time? Like, and I think it was, in a way, it finally made me realize, like, wow, I do, in a way, have certain level of impact and influence. Because I always feel like being an influencer is not just about having numbers. It's about changing people's lives, right? And I think the minute I realized that was when I was like, okay, I need to really hone in on this part of my life. Because, you know, you create funny content, whatever, but nobody's really saying that you're changing their life, right? But the minute you start sharing about your struggles and you start sharing about your story, then that's when people start sharing that, oh, I've actually gone through a similar thing. And hearing you say this, you know, gives me more confidence or more courage. And somehow that to me, you felt a lot more meaningful. And yeah, it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. I think you just suddenly realize like there's a depth to your influence more than just being funny or just an entertainer.
And it's a very interesting journey, right? Because, you know, you start out as an accent contest done in your room, and all of a sudden, like, it's gone on this entire journey. You built a career out of it also, you know, and I think it is pretty interesting. What lies ahead for your journey? This is literally a journey. A lot of people just think in terms of creation. Creation sounds like a very static kind of thing. I just need to create something. But you know, you have been on this journey. How long has it been for you on this journey? Like this moment?
Honestly, like I only started really focusing on music and content creation during COVID. Because that was the point where, again, right, back to the thing that I literally said before, when you have nothing to lose. And during COVID, everybody basically had nothing to do and I had nothing to do. So I was like, okay, let me double down on this new thing. And then it went really well. Yeah. And so I think what's next for my journey is, one, release my new album. So we are mid-process, almost finishing that now. Have my music video launch. Invite everyone. So that's really fun. So album, music video launch, continue doing content creation. But right now, my focus is going to be very, very strongly on like mental wellness in general, and also a lot more on my music, which I feel like I haven't probably done enough of. I've always I guess they've always had a little bit of a separation of like, I do music live and then I create content for wellness. But now I'm trying to integrate them a lot more. And then podcast. Podcast is starting. Yes. So that's very exciting.
It's very nice. Very, very nice.
I think really, really kind of honing in on the artist/thought leadership is really important to me.
As opposed to just previously, it was like viral entertainer, I think.
Yes, correct.
I think it's just thought leadership. I think that's kind of cool. So as we wrap up here, any words for any budding content creators who are watching this and be like, all right, wow, let's get going with this. I have all the equipment. I always say the equipment.
You only need a phone.
You only need a phone. The equipment is the easiest one to kind of get.
Yes.
Like, you know who you are and what you say and how you're going to say it. It's the most important.
Yes. Why will I have to say to them? Just do it. just do it, because only when you do it, you realize that a lot of the assumptions that you had were not real. All the fears that you had were probably not real. And even if they were real, the only way to overcome a fear is to go through it in order to get over it, right? So literally just do it. And if you need support system, find a support system of friends. I think the other very important thing is make sure you're surrounded by people who really want to see you win. Not everybody wants to see you win, okay? That's another thing that you have to realize. Some people will look at you and be like, oh, why are you doing so well? Or how come you can do that? Let me try and humble you. But you have to ignore those people. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Well, I definitely would love to see you win. Okay, I think this is a fantastic sharing session with Alyssa.
I love to see you win too.
Yes, fantastic session with Alyssa. I really enjoy everything that she has shared so far. I think we went through the mindset of discovering who you are. I think we went through the mindset of debunking or deconditioning a lot of the things that you may have been told, finding your voice, dealing with haters, coming up with topics, how to record, how to monetize, how to grow your channel, and how to engage your followers. I think we have gone through pretty much the entire journey also. So I really appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing this. I think as a person who has coached people in this field or who does this also, I think this is super hyper comprehensive in terms of both mindset, skill set, journey, a lot of wonderful content here. So thanks so much, Lisa. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
For everyone watching, if you enjoy this, please subscribe to the channel. Find my social media somewhere in the description or somewhere, and look forward to seeing you guys soon. And we put hers too. Also, we put her TikTok and everything is in the description, so you can follow her. Whether you want to follow her for mental thought leadership or you want to just see accents, put it inside the description. Until then, guys, take care. Bye.